attended Russian River flood control meeting yesterday, last night, and the control district reports that they're going to begin their licensing process in May, into May, 1st of June, and they will have inspectors here inspecting the records of all the contractors with Russian River flood control, and it'll take about 10 days. And as everyone well knows, the licensing is a priority for the district and should be a priority for everyone that receives Russian River flood control water. And they did make it very clear that all contractors will be audited in some way to lead to the licensing. There was an individual at that meeting that was very critical of the county and what we're doing to address the water crisis. So I do want it to be either in a press release. I don't know exactly how we should go forward on it, but we do want to alert the public to the fact we are in a water crisis and that this board has taken action at a previous meeting, and we're looking at a drought declaration coming forward on March 3rd. Also, we're going to have a countywide report from our water agency manager on February 24th, and I hope that we'll get a clearer picture of where we stand. All entities inland Mendocino County, that includes Redwood Valley Water, they're looking at 50% cutbacks. That's also urban households. So we do need to get very serious, and I do want the public to know that this county is engaged in doing what it can and moving forward with a contingency plan.
Just for the public's benefit, on our consent calendar today, we approved a contract with James C. Hansen Engineering Services in support of the Phase 2 at the Scout Lake Dam feasibility study. And this additional $52,900 will get us to the point where we will be ready for the permitting from the Division of Dam Safety for the state of California. So that's a big step. Probably we don't know what the process is going to be for Division of Water Rights and other state agencies, but with this contract it will get us to the point where we'll know what we have to do to raise the dam to get more water out of Scout Lake. So our water agency is moving forward on that project as fast as we can. It's going to be no help for this summer, but hopefully maybe it's probably not next year, but the following year. So we are, there is some more water in sight for Mendocino County. Supervisor Brown?
For you.
Go ahead, Supervisor.
Supervisor Brown and I also attended the Planning Commission meeting Thursday of last week, where they had an update on the general plan amendment, and there was some fairly significant discussion around the ongoing issue of how do you track what changes are actually being made. And due to the extensive reformatting of the proposed update, it's really not feasible to show by red line what the changes are, because it's been reformatted, so virtually everything's been changed in that sense. So the consultants are still, I would say, struggling with how best to present the information in a way that people picking up the documents can readily see what the changes are, both from the current general plan and also from one version of the update to the next. There was also quite a bit of discussion about the community plans, and it seems that with possibly two exceptions, most notably Anderson Valley, there was relatively little community input to the community plans. Most communities didn't really respond to efforts to draw the public out and get them to comment on what they wanted. So there was some discussion about how appropriate is it to adopt a community plan when the community didn't have any significant input into what was developed. So I'm sure those are issues the Planning Commission will continue to discuss, and they'll probably come up to us at some point. I also attended a meeting yesterday of the Homeless Services Planning Group, at which Ford Street Project announced that due to the state withholding funds from an entity that they contract with, that they have had to shut down their 43-bed treatment facility for drug and alcohol treatment. They hope this will be temporary, but of course that's all contingent upon the state releasing funds. So we're beginning to see the effects of the state essentially strangling the local agencies by withholding funds. And this situation is only going to continue to worsen. And I did ask that a copy of a newspaper article be handed out to us regarding that. And I apologize for not having time to check with County Council beforehand, but when we take a break, I would request that that be reviewed to see if there's sufficient leeway for us to make the proper findings, to have a general discussion about the impact that I think we're going to be experiencing very shortly as the state withholds the funds that we use to run programs like foster care, adult protective, and a whole litany of programs. We're charged with the responsibility of running these programs, and yet the state's going to withhold the funds. If we don't have $375,000 for a local match for the road programs, we certainly don't have the funds to float these programs for a month or for 7 months or however long the state intends to place this burden on us. So I think if it's allowable, we should try and have some discussion about that. And I also would like to see us place on our next agenda a discussion of access to department heads by the media. I think that the board should develop a policy to govern that.
And you'll put that on the agenda?
Our
You'll
next
bring that forward?
agenda.
Okay. Supervisor Brown?
Thank you. Also, tomorrow morning, it's not only water for people, it's water for our environment, and that includes our fisheries. I'm sitting on a task force dealing with ag frostwater protection, and tomorrow I'll be at the federal building in Santa Rosa with other members of the task force, meeting with NOAA Fisheries and Fish and Game. Planning is going forward for protection of listed species, as well as providing, if there's water, frost protection for agriculture in the Russian River watershed. Next Tuesday, I believe, on February 17th, IWPC, Inland Water and Power Commission, will be holding their monthly meeting. The date somewhat changed, but there is quite an agenda and lots of information available at that meeting for the press and others to attend, so they hear exactly our water situation, and that's held at the City of Ukiah's smaller conference room behind the city chambers. Invite everyone to attend, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, and I'd like to report, I went down to Santa Rosa last night and spoke, submitted our letter of opposition to AB 885, the local septic tank rules, and it was very interesting. There was a supervisor from Napa County, and she's also an attorney, and she brought up the point, a couple of good points, that actually within the law, AB 885, the regulatory process, the staff is treating it as a statewide, and there's nothing in AB 885 that says it has to be a statewide regulation. It says